enjoy the run, but I never made it very far because the arches on my feet just killed me. So when I got to the end of my rope and I said, I have to do something to get rid of the pain, and a couple people recommended the Good Feet store to me. I loved how I could go in and get a free personalized arch support fitting. They put that time, that work, that effort into helping you find the right arch supports. And you can walk around this store with these in your shoes and try them out before you purchase them. So after I got my arch supports, the arches on my feet stopped hurting. And the pain instantly, literally instantly went away. So if you have pain, go. Find a Good Feet store and go. There is an answer. Find the simple solution that will get rid of your pain. I'm Rondi, and that's my Good Feet story.
See how Good Feet arch supports work for you before you buy with a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Walk-ins welcome, or visit goodfeet.com for more information.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com, your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
From now through the end of December, earn triple points on every purchase you make with your rewards credit card from Cyprus Credit Union. That's triple the yum as you shop for your favorite holiday dishes. Triple the excitement as you fuel up to travel over the river and through the woods. And triple the satisfaction when you find that perfect gift for a loved one. Learn more about triple points or apply for your rewards credit card at cypruscu.com. Cyprus Credit Union. Your future is our future. Equal Opportunity Lender.
Tim and Amanda.
Do I look forward to reporting the news? Yes, insofar as it helps me understand what's happening.
We know that it's important information that's going to impact people's lives, and so that makes the job of reporting the news that day easier.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Pretty quiet on the roads if you're traveling the freeways or main secondaries. You do want to watch for the final clearing of a crash at 3400 South, 2700 West. Searching for the perfect present? Give them an evening or afternoon of music by Utah Symphony at Abravanel Hall. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy skies with a high of 52, up to 61 on Friday. And right now we're at 50 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
President-elect Trump's transition team is ramping up pressure on Republican senators as the incoming administration pushes to get Trump's cabinet nominees confirmed. And we got to do this thing quickly. Welcome to Inside Sources. I am your host, Adam Gardner, here with Taylor Morgan. I own a company called ASG Strategies, a lobbying firm here in town. And Taylor, my esteemed colleague, runs a company called Morgan May Public Affairs. So we're in kind of the same political space. We have been for years. We've done campaigns and elections and legislative affairs type things and gotten to know the process pretty well. One thing that's shaping up that we're breaking a whole lot of norms for is this federal process of Trump insisting that he get all of his nominees and get them very quickly because this is we hear every 4 years the most important election of our lifetimes, and they all are. Every election is incredibly important. We understand that. But several of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees have faced pushback from Republican senators, especially over Trump's attorney general pick. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz. And it's really interesting because some that are really unusual picks, like Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, an unusual pick that would get a lot of scrutiny in a normal administration. No one's talking about this pick at all.
Yeah, Adam, let's start here. Who, in your opinion, do you think is Donald Trump's most controversial cabinet pick? thus far?
Matt Gaetz by far.
Okay, why?
And I think a close second is RFK.
Really? Okay.
Matt Gaetz is a drug abuser. He brags to his colleagues about abusing drugs. And
he's also a Botox abuser.
Yes, that's true.
In a big way. Yep.
So all the headlines across the country were his attorney general pick raises eyebrows, which I thought was kind of funny.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
What was really interesting too is he had let's say all this stuff isn't true. We know that the federal government is investigating him for human trafficking, sex trafficking, and taking gifts with private flights with his friend who was another elected official that was making fake IDs for young women, and they were flying out of the state of Florida to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And then he was using Venmo, which, come on, don't use Venmo. Everything it's traceable. It's like it's like a bank account. And so he was paying these young women $900 a piece after these escapades, and was calling them tuition and payment for school.
Yeah.
And other women have come forward and said that they've paid him as much as $10,000 to engage in this sort of activity that were not underage. These were adult women. And so you're nominating someone who is under a very intense ethics investigation, and now we're coming forward and saying, now we want you to be over the attorney general spot. And he did something very interesting that never gets done, is he resigned immediately after being named, and that took away the ethics.
It closed
it
because the House Ethics Committee had been investigating all of these allegations. And to be clear, allegations.
Right.
Matt
Absolutely
Gaetz has
right.
not been convicted in a court of law. These are allegations, very serious. There is evidence, and the House Ethics Committee had been diving into all of this. Yet his immediate resignation from the U.S. House of Representatives upon being nominated by President-elect Trump closed the investigation by the House Ethics Committee, and now there's controversy and debate about whether or not the Senate will have access to that investigation as they move forward with potential confirmation.
So there's a lot of firsts, a lot of breaking the norms with the Trump administration. We expected that. Everyone
what
knew
about
that
Linda
would happen.
McMahon? Tell me Linda McMahon is not a controversial pick for the Department of Education.
So she has previously served in Trump's cabinet in 2017.
Yeah.
She was appointed to be the Secretary of Commerce. And at the time, and listeners can correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't remember her being that controversial to lead commerce. She's a very successful businesswoman, her and her husband, of wrestling, professional wrestling entertainment space. They've led $1 billion business. And so these people know how commerce and marketing
Perfect
works.
fit for education.
Yeah. But now she's been nominated for education, and she was one of the co-chairs of the America First Policy Committee, which is it's a Trump think tank.
Yeah.
I don't actually know how that works, a Trump think tank. So she has become now a controversial figure to be appointed for Secretary of Education. Now, I still kind of maintain that because she's been nominated and the others are so much more controversial, that they will actually take the heat off of Linda McMahon and Hegseth and some of these others. Do you agree?
I agree with that. And that's why I brought her up, is I think that relative to some of these other nominees, these other picks, Adam, Linda McMahon seems like a very sensible choice. We're talking, for example, of course, Matt Gaetz, who himself is under fire, under investigation for serious allegations of statutory rape, sex trafficking. We're talking serious allegations, right? So to nominate him for attorney general,
those would torpedo somebody.
You would think, yes.
Yeah.
So Linda McMahon, in contrast, is very reasonable. Let's talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. For Secretary of Health and Human Services. That is a controversial pick, one that has certainly raised a lot of eyebrows given RFK Jr.'s previous stances on vaccines, other serious medical issues. What do you think about RFK Jr.?
So RFK Jr. would have made a really sensible pick to me if you were to say, okay, I think most of my if I'm Donald Trump, okay, most of my followers and most of my supporters, they think that what you're talking about on banning these dyes and colorings just like Europe does, we like that type of stuff. We don't want this crap in our food. We don't want these preservatives. So why don't you be over the food production? You know what? Why don't you work on a task force that's charged with getting rid of this stuff?
Let's focus on the processed food
that we all kind of agree on. You know, some on the left agree with this, some on the right.
We don't have to have bad chocolate in America, right?
Right. And so what's interesting is they talk about we want to ban corn syrup in these products. And what's interesting is everything is tied to trade policy. We have extremely high tariffs on sugar. And so it's not profitable for companies to use real sugar at all. So they have to use corn syrup, which is heavily subsidized by the U.S. government. And so it's like if you're going to get into all of these different spaces with our food, then you have to revamp the whole thing. And that's completely not just Health and Human Services or food stuff. That's everywhere. That's your trade policy, Department of Treasury, everything. Where I think he's super controversial is the vaccine comment that you mentioned. And also he gets very controversial on abortion. So he's over the Health and Human Services, the second largest budget in the entire federal government. And he has said, and I have watched videos of him say this in interviews multiple times, where he says he is not opposed to aborting a baby at full term. And that's a pretty radical position for Republicans.
And that seems radically different from the current position of the Donald Trump administration.
And even the Democratic Party, because they're always using examples of the life of the mother and rape and incest and all these exemptions and these small issues. But he's very, very liberal on this subject. And so it's what can the senators handle?
Yeah. Well, okay, Adam, really quickly, we don't have a lot of time left, but you are an expert when it comes to intelligence, the defense industry. Talk to me about Tulsi Gabbard, Donald Trump's pick to be Director of National Intelligence.
A lot of Donald Trump supporters and even those on the left actually really like Tulsi Gabbard because, she was a member of the Democratic Party, ran as a Democrat. She endorsed Bernie Sanders. So there's a lot on the left that can get on board with her. Really anti-war candidate. She's a current lieutenant colonel in the military right now in the reserves. So she has a great resume, but on the intelligence side, she's very anti-war in Ukraine and has kind of leaned, I don't want to say she leans pro-Russia. I don't think that'd be accurate. She's pro-United States, but has been a little too favorable towards Russia for some. Next on Inside Sources, Trump's nominee for Attorney General, former Congressman Matt Gaetz, has been the focus of a House House ethics report. Could that be released to the public? We're going to talk a little bit more about that next.
BYU's season comes down to sudden death. Now it's a one-game season. Beat Arizona State for a path to the championship game.
Moa running hard, 15 and 12-yard line for Sione Moa.
This Saturday, it's do or die. BYU, Arizona State. KSL special extended pregame starts Saturday at 11, and kickoff is at 1:30 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Whenever I walk through the doors at the Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, whether it's Hotel Park City or downtown Salt Lake City, I know that I am in for a wonderful dining experience. And my guests, my family, whoever is going with me, they're going to have a wonderful experience too. The food is absolutely superb, but the service too is incredible. Just the ambiance and the environment. And when that sizzling hot plate comes out of the kitchen with that steak or the seafood or the poultry dish is perfectly prepared, it's just wonderful. And I often talk about this. There's something so incredible about that first bite at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It is something you just look forward to. Whether it's a side dish, whether it's a dessert, whatever your favorites are, why don't you put it all together for the perfect meal that's waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Hotel Park City, downtown Salt Lake City.
This holiday season, Capital One reminds you to give yourself the gift of 1.5% cash back with the Capital One Quicksilver Card.
Can I earn 1.5% cash back on birds?
Birds?
What if you sent your true love 2 turtle doves plus a partridge in a pear tree?
Sure, but why would anyone want that?
The song was very convincing.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver Card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now during our Black Friday sale, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus free home delivery when you add a base. And Cyber Monday. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Imagine struggling with a slow, outdated computer that takes forever to load anything, that randomly freezes up and is filled with viruses and malware. Now picture yourself with a powerful desktop or laptop that runs smoothly and efficiently, making your work and entertainment seamless. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the lawsuit against the Moab Police Department following Gabby Petito's murder has been dismissed, but an appeal is planned. Second, terms like bomb cyclone and atmospheric river are being used to describe the big storm hitting the Pacific Northwest. Third, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv, Ukraine is being shut down. 51 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the new Inside Sources. This is Taylor Morgan here with Adam Gardner. Adam, let's get into the House ethics investigation and report surrounding your favorite Florida congressman, former Representative Matt Gaetz, of course. Matt Gaetz has been accused of all kinds of very serious illegal activities. It is quite the range of allegations, Adam. Everything from paying for illicit sexual encounters with underage women to paying and trafficking underage women across state lines and even internationally. There's a lot of very serious allegations out there surrounding Matt Gaetz. And right now, of course, he is poised to be nominated potentially by the United States Senate to be the next Attorney General of the United States of America. And right now, the current controversy is surrounding these allegations. He has not been convicted of anything in a court of law. He has not been indicted by, law enforcement. So again, to be clear, these are allegations. I want to be very upfront about that. However, serious allegations. And it appears as if there is evidence in support of some of these allegations. But Adam, the question and the controversy now is, will the United States Senate have access to the House ethics report on Matt Gaetz now that Matt Gaetz has resigned from the U.S. House?
I think a lot of senators have made that very clear that they want to be able to have that report so they can make all of their decisions. It would be a little unusual if a nominee came before the United States Senate who is in charge of kind of vetting them and giving advice and consent to the president if they had less than all the facts. And it's not like we're just keeping a secret that we hope doesn't come out during these confirmation hearings. The ironic thing here is it's already come out. Like the committee has already been doing investigations, so we know that there's a lot of damage there. And so to hide that is going to be really problematic. And I could see some members of the Senate say, you know what, I want to back Donald Trump. I want to back his nominee. But the fact that they work so hard to keep this committee report private and secret is very concerning to me.
Yeah.
And now I have less than all the facts. So with this hanging over, looming over his head, I got to vote no, even though I want to support you. I got to know that there's nothing to these. And when we talk about these allegations, you're very right, very accurate to say that these are just allegations. But remember, George Santos, Republican from New York, was a new member of the House. He completely lied about his resume all the time and was breaking the law. A House ethics investigation was opened up on how he was misusing congressional and campaign funds and among other problems. And because they were just allegations, he was never indicted on anything on the House side. But they found that the allegations were serious enough that they began proceedings to expel him from Congress, and was the first in a long time where a member has been expelled from the body.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't want to come across as if I'm defending Matt Gaetz. I have concerns about Matt Gaetz for a lot of reasons. His politics, his eyebrows, these serious allegations. Across the board, Matt Gaetz is not my favorite member of Congress. He has not been. However, to me, it is a red flag, Adam, that Matt Gaetz has not been charged criminally with anything yet by actual law enforcement, right? The House Ethics Committee, although I want to give them full faith and credit and take them very seriously, I do agree with you. Especially with Representative Santos, we saw the House Ethics Committee had teeth. They were a very serious and deliberative body, and they went about their business looking into Representative Santos and assuming, presumably Representative Gaetz. It's also been a very serious, good faith effort by the House Ethics Committee. However, having worked in Congress myself, having worked in the House, I know that the House Ethics Committee has come and gone over time. And often it has been a political entity that is used for political purposes by the majority party, whoever controls the House. The House Ethics Committee often has been a political tool wielded by the majority party, and sometimes their investigations have been nothing more than political. And so with Matt Gaetz, the big question in my mind is these are very, very serious allegations with witnesses, with corroborating evidence that has been reported by media, yet he has not been charged criminally. He has not been indicted, Adam. The House Ethics Committee has not taken action yet. So why is it that we don't have anything more than allegations at this point?
Well, I mean, that's part of the investigation, right?
But even if the House Ethics Committee had something substantive, I'm not looking for the House Ethics Committee to be the body that would bring criminal charges against Matt Gaetz.
Right.
That would be the police or the FBI, right?
I'm going to take a different stance here, and my response is going to sound like a little callous, and I don't mean it to sound that way. But also, who cares? This is not a legal process he's going through. This is a political process that he's going through, and when you have to get votes. People are not going to vote for someone who is untenable or against their values. And so you're automatically going to lose every single Democrat. So we're not talking about being indicted or charged with anything. Can you pass? That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
In 1989, a man named John Tower, he was a former senator from Texas, was nominated to be George H.W. Bush's Secretary of Defense. But his colleagues all knew him as a drunk and a womanizer, and they didn't like it. And so this was, like you said, a political payback time where they voted no. They rejected George H.W. Bush, a new president's nominee, because they all knew him. And they didn't like him. And wasn't somebody from outside, a former governor or whatever.
Yeah.
Matt Gaetz is somebody they know and that they don't like. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about how this process is political, you had Matt Gaetz come at the invitation of a Senate candidate in Utah who was endorsed by Donald Trump, came to Utah, spoke at a high school to a packed room that loved Matt Gaetz, big MAGA people, and he spent the entire hour just trashing John Curtis. How he was unethical, he was horrible, he's not MAGA, he hates Trump. Just ripping into John Curtis. Well, guess what? John Curtis won. You just trashed me for hours in front of my constituents, and now you're coming before me and, supplementing yourself to me.
Yeah.
And please vote for me, and I need your confirmation. What's the phrase? That's showbiz, baby. This is politics.
And I appreciate the way you're framing this, Adam, because I think that is exactly it. I think the focus and the controversy has been on the contents of this House Ethics Committee investigation and report.
Right.
To me, that's not the issue, right? Because we know the Department of Justice, a Joe Biden Department of Justice, conducted a 3-year investigation into these allegations surrounding Matt Gaetz and his colleagues. They chose not to bring charges against Matt Gaetz. They did charge Joe Greenberg, and he's serving an 11-year prison sentence.
Yeah.
He was convicted.
And he actually cooperated in the Matt
Gaetz investigation. So,
investigation.
listen, if there was enough in this ethics report to justify these allegations against Matt Gaetz, it wouldn't even be an issue because he would already have been convicted.
No, that's a great point.
So to me, it is about politics. It is not about the House Ethics Committee report. It is about the relationships and the politics of Matt Gaetz, and that's the issue, not the House Ethics Committee.
I get that. I think that makes a ton of sense to me. Again, at the end of the day, I need to be able to look at my constituents in the eye and say, I did what I felt was right.
Yeah.
And I also think that I need to be able to lay my head down on my pillow at night and feel good about my decisions. And if they can vote to confirm this guy and feel that they can answer both of those questions in the affirmative, great. If they can't, then that's a problem.
Coming up next here on KSL Inside Sources, we will bring the talk around elections back locally here to Utah and talk about some issues involving candidates in Wasatch County. That's coming up right after the break.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A new report sheds light on the cause of a deadly explosion in South Jordan that claimed the life of a 15-year-old Bingham High School student. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera has the latest.
The National Transportation Safety Board says an Enbridge natural gas main line was leaking underground just 150 feet away from the home explosion on 3200 West. The report revealed that 5 residents in the area said they didn't smell gas prior to the explosion. The NTSB states that their investigators are reviewing Enbridge's operational procedures and pipeline safety systems.
And we've reached out to the NTSB for further comment, have yet to hear back. Our top national story this hour from ABC News concerns this morning in the capital of Ukraine about the possibility of a new Russian attack. ABC News senior foreign correspondent Ian Pinnell is in Ukraine.
The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv actually shutting down today, warning of a potential significant air attack by Russia as these tensions rise between Ukraine and the United States on the one hand and Russia.
And the U.S. has allowed Ukraine to use longer-range missiles against targets inside Russia. Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average has turned a corner, up on the day now, 65 points, while the NASDAQ is down 86. And our KSL weather, partly cloudy skies for a couple of days with temperatures getting to the 60s by the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL. News Radio 1027.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite. Affordable luxury.
When I was looking for specialized care for my mom, it was super important for me to find a safe place for her that would feel like home. And that's exactly what you will find at the Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care in Bountiful. The new owners and management take pride in hiring people who are going to provide the best care, whether it be for those in assisted living or those who require specialized memory care. Their super caregivers are committed to delivering wow experiences through their compassion and positive interactions. In this newly remodeled community, they've also created wow experiences with so many special spaces, like an art room, library, and theater room. Plus, they have added beautiful windows that make the common rooms feel light and spacious. It's a place the whole family will like to visit to enjoy the incredible family game room or to sit together by one of the fire pits. The Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care at 1150 South Main Street in Bountiful, where compassion and care come first. Find out more at thebeaumontassistedliving.com.
You know what? I think the holidays are the worst time of year for your furnace to go out. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and every November it feels like people get extra stressed when faced with the need to replace their furnace. The money they've been saving is supposed to go to Christmas, and now they're faced with a choice: Christmas or comfort. This holiday season, Any Hour Services wants to help alleviate some of that stress with our special holiday financing. No money down and no payments until next year. Plus, if you schedule a free estimate before the end of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any full system you buy. And that doesn't even factor in the rebates and incentives you might qualify for. Again, during the month of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any furnace and air conditioner you buy. And you can take advantage of our special holiday financing with no money down and no payments until next year. For more details, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a small accident in Draper. It's southbound I-15, about 146 south. Looks like all vehicles are out of traffic right now on the shoulder. However, we're still waiting for emergency crews to arrive. This holiday season, Murdoch Hyundai is grateful for you. Celebrate during the Murdoch Hyundai Season of Giving sales event. Receive 0% for 4 years on the Elantra, Sonata, Tucson, or Santa Fe. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with a high of 52 and up to 61 on Friday. Right now, we're at 52 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I am Adam Gardner here with Taylor Morgan. We're talking about a Utah district judge who has issued a temporary stay in Wasatch County, putting on hold the election certification for one of the county school board seats. It comes after the winning candidate was disqualified post-election for failing to meet a disclosure deadline. And he's now suing the county and the county clerk auditor. Now, first of all, this is going to sound bad, but it's a disclosure deadline. Is that is that the right punishment to make a winning candidate not be in office anymore?
Well, there's a lot to get into.
We got layers.
Here, Adam,
give us the layers.
I get excited about this story, but listeners, you're going to have to stick with us here. I promise you this is interesting. This is an important conversation, even though it involves very weedy corners of the election process and reporting and disclosures and whatnot. It is, I think, interesting, Adam, because of the timeline, because of what happened when here. Now, the candidate who essentially won this election for Wasatch County School Board Seat E was disqualified, as you mentioned, for missing a financial disclosure deadline. Now, in Utah law, that is absolutely appropriate. Utah law requires candidates for office to do very specific things by very specific dates in order to be eligible for election. And one of those includes financial disclosure reporting. That is part of the process. Candidates and campaigns and political action committees, political issues committees here in Utah, they are all required by Utah law to file disclosure reports. And missing one of those reports during the process can indeed disqualify a candidate for office. The issue here, though, is that didn't happen until after this candidate won, and that wasn't correct. That wasn't according to law.
So the
either.
deadline was October 29th. He didn't get it in by the 29th, but he did file it.
Right.
And the problem is that you're saying is the county had that information, knew about that, waited till after the election results were counted, he wins, and then they say you're no longer qualified.
That's right. And that was incorrect, that was inappropriate, and not according to Utah law by the Wasatch County Clerk. We saw something similar here, Adam, with Amendments A and D that were on Utah's ballot, right, this election. We know that the Utah courts had actually voided both Amendments A and Amendments D, even though they were printed on the ballot. Yet there was clear communication to voters that their vote on both of those amendments would not be counted because they would be voided. County clerks did not release they didn't tabulate or release any results on those amendments because the courts had voided them. Now, the Wasatch County clerk should have notified the candidate, Tom Stone, the other candidates in the race, and also should have notified voters that Tom Stone had been disqualified from the race as soon as they could.
And his votes wouldn't count.
And votes for him would not count and would not be published, right? So the fact that the Wasatch County clerk did not do that until after the election and after Tom Stone won, that's a serious problem. And that is why a Utah judge has blocked the certification of the Wasatch County School Board race.
So, and they have to be done by yesterday, right?
Yesterday was the certification.
That's what state law says.
The canvas deadline, yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Taylor. Can you talk to listeners about why it is important to file financial disclosures before Election Day? Like, why is it important that voters have that information? And the fact that it's missing, why is that grounds for disqualification?
Yeah, and to be clear, we're talking about state law. So this would not, have anything to do with federal candidates. Right? So candidates for the United States Senate, for the U.S. House of Representatives, any federal candidates, their campaign finances and disclosures are all handled by the Federal Election Commission and federal law. They are not affected by Utah election law here. So, however, with Utah candidates, the state election code is very clear that it requires these candidates and campaigns to report financial information, expenditures, and contributions received. We don't have any limitations here in Utah when it comes to campaign finances. You can give as much as you want to a candidate for office. Now, some counties and cities have some different limitations, but when it comes to state candidates, there are no limits. Personally, I like it that way. I believe in transparency and disclosure.
Okay, but transparency is the key word here.
Yeah.
The argument for being able to give as much as you want
is that it is reported and disclosed by candidates and campaigns before Election Day, Adam, because as a voter, I should be able to go in and review those disclosures by the candidates. And if there's anything amiss, if I have any concerns about where their support, where their money's coming from, their disclosure report would give me access to that information and ensure the transparency you're talking about. That is why those disclosure reports are so important, and that is why not filing that disclosure report on time is, can disqualify a candidate from being eligible for office.
And it's so important. Like as lobbyists, we also have to file reports with the lieutenant governor's office.
We do,
and we get reminders. Hey, this is in 48 hours. You have 3 days to fill this out. Make sure you file this at the end of the year. So we get reminders, hey, this is an important thing.
And if we miss one of those reports, Adam, it is no mercy. The fines are huge. I have never missed one, but I know lobbyists who have, and it is very expensive.
I've never missed one either. What are the fines?
Oh, you don't know the fines?
I don't want to find out. Well, I have to take a test every year.
Let's just say it starts out at $1,000.
Oh my gosh! Just for so for us, it's monetary, and for those running for office, the consequences are you are no longer in office.
Yeah,
anymore.
And again, the point there is that in our election process, you have to have deadlines.
Yes.
Right? And I understand there's kind of a side but related conversation and debate about postmarks and postmark deadlines and these things. And that will be interesting to follow in the upcoming legislative session. And it's tough, right? Because on one hand, we all want to err on the side of being inclusive in counting votes. However, you got to have a deadline.
Right.
The counting of the ballots has to end at some point, Adam. Right? And so when it comes to elections and deadlines, you have to have deadlines. And if these disclosure reports are indeed going to serve their purpose, they have to be filed by the candidates and campaigns by the deadline. Otherwise, voters don't have access to the information to inform their vote on the ballot.
Another really fun, interesting twist is that the lawyer representing Tom Stone in this case is a Republican state senator, Todd Weiler. And he compared the actions of the county clerk to a referee of a football game. He said, changing the rules on how we're calling holding penalties mid-game. Do you think that has anything to do with the BYU?
I was
Utah
going to
game?
say, Adam, you're triggering me as a Utah fan right now, knowing that the good Senator Todd Weiler is a proud BYU Cougar fan. I feel like, in Senator, we know you're listening right now, so you can text me about this if you want, but I feel like he just might be twisting the knife a little bit there, Adam. I'm not sure. But he does make a good point. And again, the judge in this case here has stopped the certification of the Wasatch County School Board race. This will play out in court, Adam. A lot of questions about this, but ultimately the point here is that candidates and their finances matter. Voters, listeners, you can find all of that at disclosures.utah.gov. Those disclosures are important. That is the story, and everyone make sure you are watching those.
What a great discussion. I actually thought I could talk about this a little bit longer, especially if we could have like Todd Weiler come and give his perspective.
Can we talk football with
on
Senator
the BYU
Weiler,
Utah
perhaps?
game. Hey, listeners, do you like podcasts? If you do, you've got to check out KSL Podcasts. Topics from true crime, news, politics, and even dating. Plus, our talk shows are all uploaded as podcasts, so you can actually listen to your favorite shows or segments whenever you want. Just go to kslpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcast. Next on Inside Sources, we're getting a look at potential plans under the new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. More on that after the break.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from the station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Point! Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Wendy's new mushroom bacon cheeseburger. Roasted mushrooms, crispy bacon, Munster cheese, and creamy garlic spread on Wendy's fresh, never frozen beef for a limited time only. Gotta be Wendy's.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media. And fact-checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a preliminary report on the explosion that destroyed a house and killed a teenager in South Jordan says there was a broken gas main leaking into the ground under the street. Second, the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine is being closed because of concern about a possible Russian air attack. And third, an audit shows some students in the Salt Lake City district are having to wait longer now for their school buses. 52 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to KSL Inside Sources. This is Taylor Morgan here with Adam Gardner. Adam, we have some breaking news. The House Ethics Committee says it will not release the ethics investigation and report into former Congressman, former Representative Matt Gaetz, of course, Donald Trump's pick to be Attorney General of the United States. It is now official. Adam, we've been talking a lot about this House investigation and the report and whether or not it would actually be accessible to senators as they consider whether or not to vote to confirm Matt Gaetz. Official. Now, the House committee has said it will not make that report available to senators. Adam, do you think there's still a possibility that senators could get their hands on the report, some of the information surrounding the investigation?
There's two ways this can happen. A Republican staffer or member of the Ethics Committee can slip it to a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee who's going through this process, or just a random senator or random staffer, and it can be leaked that way with Republicans that need cover to vote no on Matt Gaetz. I think the second possible way that this happens is there's a sacrificial lamb on the Democratic staffing side, and it's some Democratic staffer that nobody's ever heard of will leak it to the press, and if they ever find out that it was this person, they do a big ceremonial firing of this person, and then they go and make $1 million at a DC lobbying firm for doing it.
Adam Gardner, former congressional staffer, it sounds like you may have orchestrated something similar.
I was never high enough in congressional staff circles, nor did I ever work in D.C.
Now, that's a serious allegation, Adam, just to be clear.
This is a legal disclaimer.
Yeah, I'm just speculating here, okay? To be clear, definitely an interesting development, something we will keep our eyes on and watch there if indeed somehow that report makes its way into senators' hands, despite this decision by the House Ethics Committee to officially not make the report available.
Okay. The incoming leaders, now to switch gears a little bit. The Department of Governmental Efficiency, DOGE, this was named as a little nod to Elon Musk and the Dogecoin.
Now tell me about that. I'm not quite.
So Dogecoin was kind of his cryptocurrency pet project of Elon Musk and others, and it was called the Dogecoin, and it was spelled D-O-G-E.
Okay.
And their logo was a dog.
Okay.
And so they named this the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, with the same acronym.
Is there a federal department of acronym development? Like where I feel like a disproportionate amount of time and effort and maybe taxpayer resources go into thinking through and creating federal agency acronyms.
As I have said, that the two biggest ways to improve government efficiency are, one, creating a whole other department for it.
Naturally.
That'll improve everything.
Yeah.
And so what I think that we're seeing is not only that, but we have two heads of this commission. So
that's going to go well.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. If I had to guess, I would say that Elon Musk is going to take over this thing. So it'll be him, and then Vivek will kind of help. And he's kind of being the Ramaswamy is, as you well know from the debates, he is a talker. He is a salesman. This guy has made his money by taking over like small pharma companies that own patents on drugs, selling them for tons of money. That's how this guy gets his money. He's a great salesman. And then Musk is a little different. He's self-diagnosed autistic, has Asperger's, and says that he's just not comfortable in those types of spaces. But as a CEO, he really feels very comfortable about his decision-making skills. And he has known, and if you've ever read his biography, it's actually a fantastic biography on Elon Musk. He'll just go into complete departments and say, you guys are all out. I don't even know what any of you do.
Yeah.
But you're all out. And then when they say, hey, we need to add like Dave, John, and Becky, they need to come back in. They're important. He'll go, okay, we'll bring in the 10% of the people that I fired because that's how we make decisions. If I don't bring back 10% of the people that I fired or the things that I've cut, then we didn't cut enough.
Listen, I am not a business executive. I don't have that kind of experience, and I know a lot of people have serious problems with the way Elon Musk has done his business. However, I'm interested and intrigued by that approach.
Me too.
I did something similar a couple months ago with my subscriptions, my recurring monthly subscriptions through my Apple ID account. I just removed all payment information there, Adam, because rather than having to go through and cancel an endless list of recurring subscriptions, things I had forgot about, haven't used in forever, I just cut the entire department, so to speak. And over time, I have opted back into only a handful of essential subscriptions. So a similar approach there. I'm interested. According to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who recently laid out some more specific details about their plans for this DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, they want to start with setting what they call government efficiency panel goals. Musk and Ramaswamy will be co-chairs, as you mentioned, Adam. Their goal will be to reduce government regulations, administrative costs, and workforce size through executive action, not legislation, which is, I think, a key point, right? Because working as an agency, working under the executive authority of Donald Trump, they will not need support from Congress to do what they want to do here with the Department of Government Efficiency. They'll just be able to do it all via executive order.
I watched a video that Elon Musk posted, and I had seen it posted somewhere else, but they tagged Elon. It's kind of funny to watch watch X or social media where folks are tagging Elon Musk. Hey, look at this program. You should look at this employee or what this job is, and you should cut it. And once he seems to he keeps retweeting. And so one was an old clip of Milton Friedman, who every conservative economic person looks to as their godfather. And there was an interview that he posted where a reporter was saying, I'm going to list every single federal department or agency, and you say keep or cut. And so they would say Department of Defense, and he would go keep. Department of Energy.
I remember this, yeah.
Cut,
yeah. Except
except for the defense stuff. That should go under the Department of Defense. Secretary, do we cut Commerce? And he goes, cut. And they just went Department of Labor, cut. And it reminds me of the president of Argentina. There's another famous video of when he gets elected. He was known as kind of like the Donald Trump, but with an economics degree. And they list out all the departments on a whiteboard with magnets on each of them. And he goes by every single one of these and says, like, the Department of Equal Pay. And then he goes, afuera, and rips it off and says, cut, cut, cut. And that's what we're going to see. And are some not going to pass muster? Yeah, we're going to keep a lot of these things. But if we can reduce federal workforce or spending by 5%, is that a win?
I think so. Listen, I think this will be a controversial approach here by the Department of Government Efficiency, doing it all by executive order rather than through and with the support of Congress. Adam, it's going to be very interesting because we have a Republican-controlled Congress. You and I both know, having spent time working in Congress and working with legislation here in Utah, it's very easy to criticize government spending until it comes to your project.
Bingo.
Until it comes to your home state. As Musk and Ramaswamy cut federal programs and lay off federal workers, how will members of Congress respond?
They're going to be mad when it's something in their district. But honestly, Donald Trump, if this is really his plan, and Elon Musk, if this is his plan, he needs to stick to it and hold the line and not care if members of Congress are going to be scared about it.
Well, I like changing up the status quo, Adam. I like doing things differently. This might be radical, but listen, nothing we've done to date has really reduced the size and scope of federal government or the spending, so I'm all about a new approach. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk more about developments with leadership in Congress. Stay right here on Inside Sources.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news coming from Congress. The chair of the House Ethics Committee says there's no agreement among its members to release the investigative report on former Congressman Matt Gaetz. The committee is made up of equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats, had been looking into allegations of drug abuse and sexual misconduct. The investigation ended when Gaetz resigned from Congress. He's been nominated to become Defense Secretary by President-elect Trump. Gabby Petito's family plans to appeal a judge's decision dismissing their lawsuit against the Moab police. The family says the police should have acted to protect Gabby when they stopped her and Brian Laundrie in 2021. She was later murdered, and Laundrie admitted the killing. The judge in Moab dismissed the case based on Utah's governmental immunity law. A follow-up audit of the Salt Lake City School District found a lot of students are waiting half an hour or longer to catch their school buses. Kids in some neighborhoods have waited a lot longer. Here's KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla.
It's specifically affecting students on the west side. State Representative Angela Romero says the district has already raised concerns about the disparities for students on the east and west side. The bus waiting times came up in a report presented to the Legislative Audit Subcommittee. Auditors say the issues stem from the district's shared governance model, meaning each school makes its own schedule instead of being decided on a district level.
More than 160 students waited 4 times longer for their buses compared to other students in the district. Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average is now up 139 points as we approach the close of trading today. NASDAQ, though, is down 21 points. And our KSL weather. Looks like we'll be partly cloudy for a couple of days while the temperatures warm up. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:02.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the Capital Wealth Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Hey BYU football fans, this is Mitch Harper. BYU goes back on the road this week to face Arizona State. And to get ready for the game, visit your local Macy's grocery store for all of your game day needs. They have great prices on all of your favorite game day items like burger patties, made fresh dips, and more. And did you know your favorite tailgate foods are also now offered through Macy's Catering, which offers a wide variety of catering platters from smoked meats to wings and even desserts. The catering options are available online or in store. Macy's also has you covered for Thanksgiving. You can pick up one of their holiday meal kits that has the turkey and sides and all the fixins for a perfect holiday meal. Never miss a deal when you sign up for the Macy's Rewards program so you can get the weekly ads sent straight to your inbox each week.
Hi, this is BYU captain and defensive end Tyler Batty. It's football season again. Make sure to shop your local Macy's grocery stores for all your favorite tailgate foods.
Get game day ready with Macy's. Happy shopping.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
On September 12th, 1995, 12-year-old McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas. It was a crime that shocked the community because the suspect was so unlikely, so unexpected.
Former high-ranking police official, he'd run for sheriff at one point.
Law enforcement personnel were pretty much split down the middle over whether or not he actually did this.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, still feels that justice was never truly served.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Overall, a quiet drive on the Valley freeways. We have had just a little bit of busy traffic northbound on I-15 approaching the I-215 junction in Murray. Nothing major. The crash we had in Draper southbound I-15 at 146 South has cleared. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with a high of 52 today, up to 61 on Friday. 52 degrees right now with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to our second hour of Inside Sources. I'm Adam Gardner here with Taylor Morgan. We have a treat today for the next couple of segments. We have two of the very lesser-known members of the House of Representatives. Just kidding. I'm getting bad looks from some of them. No, we have two great friends of the show, great friends in general. Democrat State Representative Andrew Stoddard representing Murray, Midvale, and Sandy. And then we have State Representative Casey Snyder, a Republican from Cache Valley. Thanks so much to both of you for being here. If you want to take like 10 seconds, I know you have to do this often in town hall meetings, but take 10 seconds and introduce yourselves to the listeners.
Yeah, and I'd actually defer to my colleague here to the left. As you know, in recent elections, Democrats are largely known for word salad. So I'm going to give him whatever time he needs.
Shots fired right off the top.
So Andrew Stoddard here. Thanks for having me. I've came the same time as Casey, so we're coming up on our fourth term. Work as an attorney during the day, and I represent real people, not just animals up in Cache Valley. So.
And I appreciate that, and I actually appreciate the respect you give my constituents. So thank you for that. But yes, Representative Casey Snyder. I've been in the legislature now, the same as Andrew, and just happy to be here. Happy to have a discussion on these topics.
Yeah, and both of you, of course, is we have fun here in studio, jabs back and forth. We love that. You two really, I think, in my experience with the legislature, have set a really positive tone. I think there's always room for healthy debate, healthy conversation, and disagreement, and that's something that we really want to highlight here on the new Inside Sources. Talking about issues that we're going to disagree on, and we hope we disagree, right? I mean, I could say that Andrew Stoddard has probably the ugliest logo in all of Utah politics.
Fact.
And he probably disagrees with that, I would assume, Representative Stoddard.
I do, yes. Okay. Very strongly disagree.
Okay, but let's start here. I want to start with an issue that is front and center for me. I have a bias on this that I'll disclose as Executive Director of Count My Vote, the organization that helped establish the signature path to the primary ballot in Utah 10 years ago. I have a bias when it comes to our elections. And with that disclosure made, I want to get into some of the discussions around election process reform in the state of Utah. We have heard that the legislature, and particularly the House of Representatives, your body, is going to consider changes to voting by mail. It may also propose changes, significant changes to the state elections office by creating a new independent state elections office. Let's start here, if we can, with Representative Casey Snyder. You serve as Assistant Majority Whip, and what can you tell us? Where is leadership on these issues, and what are you hoping to accomplish?
No, first and foremost, thank you. And as we're declaring our biases here, as a member of the majority party in this state, I have a bias towards being right most of the time. So that's my own personal bias in this. But joking aside, as I look at elections, our systems of elections live or die by the confidence people give in them. And I believe that whatever we can do, whatever steps we can take to, peel behind the curtain a little bit and show people that their vote matters, that it counts, that elections are fair, anything we can do in that vein, I think we should support. And I think that's what is at the heart of what we're trying to do next session.
Yeah. Representative Stoddard, what is your position on some of the proposed election reforms?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously know that Utah has likely the best run elections in the country. I don't have a problem with letting people see how it works. The problem I have is that we give people a platform to deny our elections. I mean, you look at a lot of our colleagues up on the Hill and the things they're trying to do and the things they're trying to say, and casting doubt on our system just causes a lot of problem for our civil servants.
So, okay, I want to hit on something that you just said, because we just had a very contentious gubernatorial race, and you had one of the candidates who won in convention and then lost handily in a primary, who all along has been saying that this is a rigged system, the election was stolen. If the legislature does something or makes changes, how do you balance out, we want to show you that it's fair and that every vote counts and that we run a really good system, versus we're also very concerned about what you said, that there's so much fraud that we have to prove that there's not. So how do you find that line of not looking like you're catering to the craziest or the fringe of the parties? How do you walk that line?
I mean, I think you start by looking at the root problem here, and I think what it is our caucus convention system, where you've got a system that is so out of touch with the general electorate that it continues to put forth candidates that espouse these extreme ideas, and given the nomination out of convention, have the platform to do that. I think we need a system that more fully represents the people, and I think by doing that, we won't have these candidates that continue to push forth lies.
Let's give Representative Snyder a chance to respond to that, because I know House leadership has proposed potential reforms to the caucus convention path or the dual path. Do you want to speak to that at all, Representative Snyder?
Yeah, and I can speak to that maybe. So in terms of specific policies, look, we're 6 weeks or more still away from the general session starting. So I don't know that we can.
That's a lifetime.
In politics, it really is. And so I don't know that I can speak to any particulars, but I would say just a couple of things. I don't, and this is where we're going to disagree maybe from the get-go here, I don't believe that the caucus convention system is the problem. I think it has a lot of merit, and I can actually say that with enough degree of confidence because I was actually a Bennett staffer when now Senator Mike Lee beat my boss. So I lost my job over the caucus convention system and still see value in it in terms of how it engages. Now, the rhetoric and the tone, that can be adjusted, but I don't think fundamentally it has an issue. But that said, as we're looking at improving the election system without really catering, which is the word, I think we do it through a fair and transparent process. I think that's why you had the 3 major statewide candidates submit recommendations for the audit, which the legislature passed. And that audit did find some discrepancies. It did not say anything should change. It did not show anything that was glaringly, wrong, but there's some things that we can fix along the way, and anything that we can do to improve the system based on facts that are identified in a non-biased way, I think we should act on those.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's stay here. I want to follow up on the caucus convention process because we've heard a lot of talk from Republicans and leadership about transparency and fairness and security when it comes to our elections. Yet the caucus convention process, and in theory, I think it's great. I'm a precinct chair. It's something I've always participated in, but it is not transparent. It is not accountable. We have no idea if delegates go to convention, let alone how they vote at convention. There's zero accountability or transparency into the parties because they're private organizations in that process. So how do we reconcile wanting more and more security and transparency with the signatures, but yet we're letting the party do anything with caucus convention?
Well, I'll share my secrets with you if you make Representative Stoddard promise he's not going to burden the whole system down. Can you commit to that?
I already have a bill file open, which does just that, so I cannot make a commitment.
Oh, wow. Breaking news here on KSL News Radio.
Some people just like to watch the world burn. I've heard that quote before. I think there's some separation here, and this is probably a broader philosophical question as we move forward, right? So what level of engagement should the state have, right? These are private organizations. Where is that line? Now, we live in a two-party system, and clearly the courts have ruled that there is an avenue for the state to engage. I don't know that I could speak to where that's at right now. And again, we don't have any particulars of legislation, but I do believe in the system. I do believe that we have a good system as long as people engage in it.
Yeah. Well, appreciate that. We will continue this conversation here on KSL News Radio Inside Sources, coming up right after the break here in studio with Representative Casey Snyder and Representative Andrew Stoddard. Stay right here.
BYU's season comes down to sudden death. Now it's a one-game season. Beat Arizona State for a path to the championship game.
Moa running hard, 15 and 12-yard line for Sione Moa.
This Saturday, it's do or die. BYU, Arizona State. KSL special extended pregame starts Saturday at 11, and kickoff is at 1:30 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
The temperatures outside have dropped a bunch, and now my family and I are enjoying the benefits of our brand new windows from Advanced Window Products in a different way. During the summer, it was nice to be able to keep the cold air in. Now it's nice to see how much more efficiently we can keep warm air inside. We replaced 20 of our builder-grade windows with high-efficiency windows and a glass door to our backyard with a built-in pet door, and we have just been thrilled with the results. We're already saving on our energy bill. We're helping pay for the windows with the rebate available through Dominion Energy. Our price didn't include any middleman markups because they did the sales and the installation all in-house. My wife and I love that there's a lifetime warranty serviced by their local team, labor, glass, parts included. I promise they're going to treat you right, and you'll have an amazing experience from start to finish, just like I did. Right now is a great time to do it. Also, they're having an end-of-season sale. Save $2,500 on 10 windows or more. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Americans treasure owning silver bars and coins, putting them away for themselves and their loved ones. Call now to secure 1-ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. You'll be glad you did. Hurry, don't miss out on this special deal. Save $10 per silver bar. The more you buy, the more you save. Limit of 25 bars per customer. Call to learn more. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value and free shipping. Call 1-800-222-3967 now to secure your 1-ounce Morgan Silver Dollar bars. That's 1-800-222-3967.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a judge in Moab dismissed the lawsuit filed by Gabby Petito's family against the Moab police. The family says they will appeal. Second, a senator from Hawaii wants to know why only one home has been rebuilt in Lahaina after the devastating wildfires in Maui last year. And third, Common Spirit hospitals in Utah will be getting some expert help from the University of Utah. 52 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2024 special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the new KSL Inside Sources. I am Taylor Morgan alongside Adam Gardner. Adam, we are just about 6 weeks away from the next Utah General Legislative Session. However, as we know, the business happens now. It happens year-round. In fact, interim meetings are happening right now up on Utah's Capitol Hill, and we are very fortunate to be joined in studio by Representative Andrew Stoddard, a Democrat in the Utah House, and Representative Casey Snyder, a Republican in the House. And we have had a great conversation about elections and some other issues. And we're going to continue the conversation with Representatives Stoddard and Snyder here by starting with housing affordability. According to the latest polling, Adam, the number one issue among all Utah voters, regardless of age, regardless of political party, the number one issue Utah voters say they are most concerned about right now is housing affordability. And so we'll start with Representative Stoddard. What are your thoughts on housing affordability, and is there any legislation in the works from Utah Democrats in the House or your Republican colleagues that you would support that would really help address this issue of housing affordability in Utah?
Yeah, no, it's a huge issue. I know where I live, we've got a range of different housing options, apartments, multifamily living, single-family homes. And I think that's the way to do it. And, I'm not aware of anything that our caucus specifically is doing, but we're not run by developers like the other caucuses up in the legislature.
Ooh, okay.
But it is an issue. And I think it's a very interesting issue because there's so many layers. You have to look at like city level zoning. You have to look at state level. What can we do to help the economy? Because we obviously want to grow. We want people to come here, but we also want to make sure that it's affordable and people can stay here.
Yeah. Representative Snyder.
I'm still a little upset by the comment that was made, but I'm going to go back to my core, and I'm going to let freedom guide me, which is what my party generally believes in. But as I sort of look at the next legislative session, I think, at least in part, large part maybe, the housing issue is a private property rights issue, right? If there is a demand in the market, then there should be somebody on the private property side who has a piece of ground, who has all the infrastructure to build. They should be able to move through a permitting process and put something on the ground. Now, the friction that we've seen the last couple of sessions, which I suspect we're going to continue to see moving into the next general session, is between local control and what locals want in their community and this broader housing crisis, this broader housing need that you're talking about right now. And that's probably the friction that'll continue. I don't know how you get around that, but I do think, at least in part, the building of more houses, and I have no skin in the development game, is got to be part of the discussion.
Okay, I like that you brought that up, the local control issue. What I'm seeing with cities is most cities, there are some I would agree that are not complying with what the state is asking them to do. But most cities are trying their best, and there's two major problems that I see. One is infrastructure. The more you have to build out, especially in Salt Lake County, if you have to build clear out west to the mine, there's no infrastructure out there, and cities right now are not capable of building that infrastructure by themselves. And so that's very expensive, and they need the state's help. Here's the second issue that I see, and I would love to hear if there's any way to solve this. I know that Representative Clancy has been talking about having a bill on this issue, is folks will come, developers will come to a city, and they'll say, hey, we want to build 70 lots right here. And by the way, this fits in with what the state is asking you to do, to put in multiple houses per acre. Instead of just these quarter-acre lots, they're going to be a tenth of an acre. They're going to be detached housing. They're going to have garage. They're going to be everything that you guys want, but they're on a sliver of the ground, 70 houses. And so the city says, okay, this is compliant. We have the infrastructure here. Let's totally do it. Developer, go ahead. And then once everything is entitled, a developer will then sell to a corporation who will buy all 70 of those lots, and they'll make them all rentals. And so it'll be $3,000 a month to rent. And now you're helping with the supply issue of people need a place to live. So you're doing that. But I don't think anyone that can actually afford $3,000 on their mortgage wants to rent. And so cities are kind of stuck. Like, we're trying to comply with the state, but also, what do we do? How do we prevent this? We have no tools in our toolkit. Is there a way to prevent this? I'll go Representative Snyder to you.
No, it has to be part of the discussion, right? And entitled lots is a legitimate concern. So are the either second homes or Airbnbs in resort communities.
Right.
You go look at what's happening in St. George right now. A house comes on the market. I bet you 9 times out of 10, the person that buys that house is not somebody with a young family who wants their first home in St. George. And that's part of the problem. So I know there's going to be discussions on that space as we get closer to the legislative session. We'll see what the words are on paper. But I think the legislature is cognizant of that, and I think it's certainly something we have to talk about.
Yeah, appreciate that. Representative Stoddard?
Yeah, and it's a hard issue because, as Representative Snyder mentioned, you're running up against people's property rights. But we do want to make sure that's affordable. And for those people who are crazy enough to want to live in somewhere hot like St. George, we want to make sure that they're able to, and they're not paying these exorbitant prices. I look at my own house, which I've been there 11 years, and with what it's valued at now, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are in that same situation.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I want to pivot a bit, and I want to talk about the outlook of the Utah legislature going into this 2025 session vis-a-vis the new incoming Donald Trump administration and a Republican-controlled U.S. Senate and U.S. House. I guess I should ask Representative Snyder, has the development when it comes to the Republican Party's control in Washington, has that had an influence on how the Utah House leadership is approaching the upcoming session?
Well, I want you to know, and the listeners to know, that the first thing I did when Donald Trump won office was I went to my good friend, Representative Stoddard, and I wiped his tears. I did that because I care.
With a flag.
With a flag.
Yeah.
Then we flew it over the Capitol the rest of the day, and so that all aside, I think from a Republican-led legislature looking at a Republican administration and a Republican Senate and a Republican House, there's a lot of things that we want to have discussed. And when you look at our state in particular, we're in a position where a lot of the decisions are made from D.C. I wish D.C. didn't have as much influence in our state, but they do from at least a management perspective. I'm optimistic about that future. I would, however, say that one of the things that actually the colleagues from the other side have flagged, not maybe in this state, but in states like California, there's all of a sudden this reaffirmed hand waving and cheering for state rights. And I would love to be in a position as a state where it didn't matter if there was a Republican or a Democrat in Washington, we could solve the problems at a local level. I'm a big believer in the 10th Amendment and those types of things. And so whatever we do, I hope that we're looking at a long-term fix that goes in that direction.
Yeah. And Representative Stoddard, for you and your Democratic colleagues in the Utah House, has the election outcome had an impact on how you are approaching the upcoming session?
I mean, my biggest hope, we've spent so much time in past elections dealing with these culture war issues or non-issues where we're declaring our state sovereignty and all these things that really don't matter instead of solving problems for real Utahns. So, I don't think it affects us. I hope we can get to work for Utah and the people we represent.
Okay. You know what? Thanks, both of you, for being here. I hope we can make this somewhat of a regular thing. And because the banter back and forth, we talk a lot about the governor's disagree better type stuff. And I think that's all abstract. What we're seeing here is that actually in practice, there's a lot of Democrats that get bills passed that Republicans vote for. Most of the things that happen up there, 92% of them are unanimous votes. There's more that we agree on than we disagree. So thank you both so much for being here. Remember, if you miss out on any of our shows or you love a particular segment so much, like this one, that you want to hear it again, you can find our full shows and individual segments posted online after each show. And you can find us on kslpodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Inside Sources. And next on Inside Sources, a new audit says college presidents should take serious looks at the programs they offer and make some cuts. More on that after the break.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utah judge has dismissed a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family of Gabby Petito against the Moab Police Department. Petito was murdered in Wyoming in 2021, just 2 weeks after Moab police responded to a domestic violence call between her and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. The two were separated for the night, but no arrests were made. The attorney for Moab, Mitchell Stevens, argued the case should be dismissed under a Utah law that protects government entities and officers.
Moab's a governmental entity, and police work is the definition of a governmental function.
The judge agreed to dismiss the case on that basis, but Gabby's family says they will appeal. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. We have word this afternoon that the House Ethics Committee will not release its report on former Congressman Matt Gaetz. The Attorney General nominee for the incoming Trump administration was under investigation over allegations of sexual misconduct and drug use. Ethics Chair Michael Guest says the bipartisan committee could not reach an agreement. Your money at this moment. At the close of trading, the Dow Jones average was up on the day, 139 points. At the close, the NASDAQ down 21. The S&P 500 was barely changed for the day. And our KSL weather, we've got partly cloudy skies for a couple of days as the temperatures warm up. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
This Friday, join KSL News Radio and Hale Center Theater as the movie show broadcasts live at the theater beginning at 11 a.m. 9900 South Monroe Street in Sandy. 2025 season tickets are now on sale and make great Christmas gifts. Gift cards are also available for any amount. The 2025 season includes Little Women, the Broadway musical, DreamWorks, The Prince of Egypt, Finding Neverland, 12 Angry Men, Footloose, the musical Comedy Murders of 1940, Sister Act, and Disney's Frozen. Playing now on the center stage is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And on the Jewel Box stage, the 40th year of A Christmas Carol. Go to hct.org or call 801-984-9000.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL, News Radio 1027.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top-tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
In Davis County, we do have a crash blocking two right lanes of traffic northbound I-15. It's after the north interchange, right about Center Street, and it is causing heavy delays. Then in Murray, an accident northbound I-15 right after the south interchange. All of those vehicles are out of traffic. All lanes are open. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see partly cloudy skies with a high around 52, up to 61 on Friday. Right now, again, 52 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Adam Gardner here with Taylor Morgan. In a state audit released yesterday, auditors recommend college presidents cut, quote, inefficient, end quote, programs. So there's been a lot of scrutiny and kind of some realignment on some programs. Utah's higher education institutions must better evaluate programs based on their effectiveness in graduating students. I think, to that. That's great. Leading to high-paying jobs and meeting workforce needs. The audit highlighted a lack of data tracking for program costs, enrollment, completion rates, and employment outcomes, leading to inefficiencies, which actually surprises me because usually you think that higher ed is really good at their stats and communicating and finding out where their students are going and do they have high-paying jobs. I know I went to Weber State University, and they are always touting, hey, in our nursing program, 100% of our graduates are hired, and here's their median salary. We can track that really well. So I'm surprised that that's not the case for every college and every university statewide.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about what we mean by inefficient programs at the college or university level. Adam, you did your undergraduate work at Weber State University. I attended the University of Utah. And in my personal experience, I took a lot of, I think, inefficient courses. I was aware.
Like what?
Well, I would argue that some of the art history courses that I took, as a Bachelor of Science student, I received 2 degrees, one in political science, the other in international studies. My international studies degree was a BA, a Bachelor of Arts. And as part of that degree program, I had to take X number of art courses, if you will, more humanities-based courses. Now, I'm not here to criticize those courses or criticize those programs or those majors, but coming from just through the lens of quote unquote inefficiency.
You didn't want to be an artist. You didn't want to be an art curator.
But I'm not an artistic person.
Yeah.
I don't. That's not my skill set. I don't have any talents at all, and I'm aware of that. Others might, and so that perhaps is why they're pursuing that degree. But from a efficiency standpoint, and I think what we're talking about when we say inefficiency or efficiency of higher education programming, we're talking about job opportunities.
Right.
And we're talking about average wages and earnings for graduates of those programs. And so just going through a list here, a list provided by MSNBC of what nationally are often the most inefficient programs according to earnings and job opportunities. Drama and theater arts is top of the list. Visual and performing arts, film, video, photographic arts, psychology and social work is interesting. And art history, of course, makes the list. Also, language courses. So I'm torn on this, Adam, because our tax dollars, our state income tax dollars, cover the cost of higher education. You know, there's other things involved, of course, but taxpayers in Utah fund these higher education programs. And on one hand, I do believe that you go to college and university not just for vocational purposes exclusively. You go to college to learn about the world outside of just your degree and career path. There's value in that to becoming a well-rounded person and a citizen. However, I think you and I could both attest to having seen students spend a lot of time on some of these programs, some of these courses that ultimately don't add value when it comes to getting a job. How do you feel about this?
Well, I've seen, now that you mention that, what's really interesting to me is the folks that I've talked to that have graduated, let's say in finance or business at BYU, rarely are they talking about what they learned in college, but who they are connected to. And it's, hey, I have a friend that works in this industry that we're trying to get into because I met him at college. Let's actually go ahead and use that person that I met, use my network that I had at BYU. If you're in a fraternity at the University of Utah, it doesn't matter if they were your class or not, or if you knew them in college, but just saying I'm Sigma Chi, you automatically have that relationship with other like-minded business type people or something. So all of that is good, and that's secondary to the education piece. But I do a lot of work in the aerospace and defense industry, and we started up an organization called 47G that handles all of aerospace and defense and a lot of energy and advanced materials and manufacturing all around the state and in 6 other states. And all of them are saying the exact same thing. All of them are saying we have workforce needs. Every single engineer that graduates in the state of Utah could be hired right now by Hill Air Force Base and by Northrop Grumman. But every company needs engineers. They need mechanical engineers. They need electrical engineers. And so there's a huge workforce problem. And the state, I think, is taking that very seriously. And I'll be honest with you, universities are taking this seriously too. University presidents understand that this is an issue and that they need to focus their core on actually having a core competency where they can graduate these people into high-paying jobs.
Yeah. The issue at hand here in Utah is that even though we know from some of the national sources and the national research that I referenced earlier with some of those quote-unquote inefficient college programs, here in Utah, according to the Legislative Auditor General, presidents of Utah colleges and universities actually don't know specific program costs, enrollment rates, completion rates, employment demands for graduate earnings, because we don't track that here in the state of Utah yet. And so that is going to be, I think, a priority, something that we will see happen in the next legislative session. We are going to see a new requirement following up on this legislative audit to track all of this information across Utah's colleges and universities to make some key funding decisions, because we know, Adam, that enrollment in Utah colleges and universities is actually declining. Despite our booming population growth here in Utah and our having the youngest population as a state in the nation, enrollment in Utah's colleges and universities is declining. And so there is the funding from tuition and fees over time it's going down.
Well, and it's interesting. I used to work in the tech industry, and so obviously we need to have software engineers and software developers. But right now you have other resources like Khan Academy that's online, that's free.
Yeah.
And you can go and actually get certified yourself and actually learn coding and developing and software engineering and math. And you can teach yourself all of these things. And when you go to get a job with a lot of these tech software companies, of which we have a lot of in Silicon Slopes and around Utah, all they want to know is your core competency. So sit down and I want to see you work out this problem. Find a mistake in the code. I want to see you work an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Show me that. If you know how to do that stuff, then you're qualified to work here. And so should our universities be focusing more on that?
Do employers value cultural literacy? Do employers value this notion of wanting an employee to be a well-rounded human, a well-rounded citizen that could perhaps justify some of these programs at the college or university level? Do you think employers actually look for that? Does having a degree beyond just that very niche career, does that add any value?
Yeah, I mean, I think yes, it adds value because it shows you can finish something. But we got to look at if you're doing an interview and you've interviewed a lot of people in your life, do you say is this person a cultural fit for our office? Do we all get along? Because one bad apple can kind of ruin your entire organization. Next on Inside Sources, in our final segment on today's show, a well-known political pollster is now calling on President Biden to resign. And we're going to discuss that after these messages.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Being prepared for an emergency is vital to you, your families, and your community's well-being. You can be ready by making plans and putting together disaster supply kits for every member of your family or household. While preparing, remember that everyone has unique needs and abilities. Grandma?
All right, who wants a cookie?
Has different needs from baby.
A cookie.
And Grandpa Kids these days has different abilities than your teenager.
Whatever.
Buying a ready-made emergency kit just supplies you with the basics of survival. This is good, but kits then need to be personalized with anything else you require to be happy, healthy, and comfortable in a difficult situation.
Oh, I get it.
Remember, emergency preparedness is your responsibility. For more information on how you can prepare for disasters, visit beready.utah.gov. Be ready, Utah.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, there's a window company giving huge discounts, saying it's the biggest sale ever.
And last month they were offering free labor. That just doesn't add up.
We don't play those games. At Window World, everyone gets the same low price every day.
No pressure, no games, and now we offer siding too.
Call Window World today, 801-281-8111 for 4 windows and a patio door for just $56.12.
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SN3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, Gabby Petito's family says they will appeal a decision to dismiss their lawsuit against the Moab police. They say police intervention could have prevented her murder. Second, the House Ethics Committee chair says its members haven't agreed to release the report on their investigation on former Congressman Matt Gaetz. And third, a Utah-based company has won a multi-million-dollar contract to build drones for the Defense Department. 50 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the new Inside Sources. I am Taylor Morgan alongside Adam Gardner. Adam, Nate Silver, that name is familiar perhaps to you, to our listeners, the prominent national pollster. I think he may have jumped the shark here. Adam, Nate Silver has publicly called for President Joe Biden to resign from office. He did this in a post to the social platform X just earlier today, and quote from his post, "Is there any particular reason to assume Biden is competent to be president right now? It's a very difficult job," Silver wrote in his post. "It's a dangerous world, extremely high-stakes decisions in Ukraine. He should resign and let Harris serve out the last 2 months, end quote. Adam, what's your reaction?
What an idiotic idea.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, there's a couple things that's wrong with this. And the first is that it takes a long time for you to learn on the job in being the president of the United States. And usually if you're a newly elected president, you have time to ramp up and get ready. You have a transition period. That wouldn't exist for Harris. She has to move into the Oval Office and know how to command a country. And by the way, no one's going to listen to her because she only has 2 months left on the job. And by the way, there's two problems with this on the Republican side and on the Democrat side. Republicans have been saying this for more than a year and a half probably, that Biden does not have what it takes, that he's not mentally competent, that he's too frail, he's too old to do the job. And this would confirm that. And the Democrats have been saying, no, we're in lockstep with Joe Biden. He's great. He chose on his own to not run for president of the United States. And so if he were to resign and Harris were to take over, it would prove that their whole thing is a sham. And what's interesting here is Nate Silver is actually, he's been more left-leaning. And this is just a very, he's kind of gone a little different. It's hard to predict where he usually goes because he changes so often right now. But all in all, this just seems like a really stupid idea.
Yeah, interesting. Well, you have strong opinions, Adam.
No.
And I don't disagree.
Absolutely not.
I do not disagree with you on this. However, I agree with a portion of Silver's statement about Joe Biden's competency.
Right.
I have concerns about that. I think those concerns are justified, of course. However, at this point, it seems to be very, very late in the game to call on Joe Biden to resign for these kinds of, say, mental competency issues. It's tough, right? Because on one hand, our president is our commander-in-chief. He is the ultimate decision maker or decider, as has been said.
As George Bush.
Yeah.
I'm the decider.
That's right. It sounds so much better when he said it, right? The accent. But listen, President Biden has very, very important responsibilities, of course, and it is a problem. We should have real concerns about his mental capacity when it comes to being the commander-in-chief, to being, the person that has to make these kinds of decisions. So, listen, I think there's a valid point there, but Adam, there might be another reason why some Democrats are making this claim, or at least calling for President Biden to resign at this stage in the game. And those could perhaps be based more on identity politics. Jamal Simmons, a former aide to Vice President Kamala Harris, recently called for Biden to resign so Vice President Harris could take that role for a short time to become a quote-unquote transformational figure. So
I don't even know what that means.
Well, let me read his statement. He said, quote, Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transformational figure, according to Jamal Simmons. He said that on CNN's State of the Union. He continued, he could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris president of the United States, to be the first female president of color of the United States of America.
I just think that's another terrible idea. Same terrible idea for a different terrible reason. And I don't mean to get such strong opinions here, but this is the presidency of the United States of America, the most powerful person in the entire world. This is not something you hand out to somebody else that you don't think can do the job. The American electorate chose somebody else. Kamala Harris had an opportunity to be a transformational figure in the Democratic Party as a president of the United States. And guess what? The American people said no. Yeah. We don't want it. One, I just think Joe Biden, to give up his seat in the history books for the next 200 years, people are going to look at his presidency and say he quit because he couldn't do the job.
Well, and I would argue, this is my opinion, that Vice President Kamala Harris has had the opportunity for the last 4 years to be that transformational figure as vice president of the United States of America. Yet, for some reason, Adam, she has been almost entirely absent from public view, from serious issues and debate. We really, before she became the Democratic Party nominee for president, Kamala Harris was nowhere to be found.
She had a 35% approval rating. Not only was she not around, she wasn't around because she wasn't a popular figure.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she gets nominated to be the president, and she's transformational. I'm trying to square a circle here, I guess, because I'm not a huge fan of either one of the candidates, but this is a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that, even though I do think there's validity about the questions surrounding President Joe Biden's mental competency and his ability to hold that office and execute the responsibilities as commander-in-chief. I have those concerns. Those concerns, I think, are the reason Joe Biden stepped down as a candidate and did not run for another term. So those are valid points. But at this stage in the game, let me ask you this. You're closer to the international security issues. These are things you know well. You have a background and experience there. Do we think in the next 2 months, given what is happening internationally with wars in Israel and, of course, in Ukraine, is that alone a good argument to make? Should Joe Biden step down because of international concerns, international conflicts? Is that enough of a reason?
I think right now you have a world where Secretary Blinken, the Secretary of State, the Defense Secretary, Secretary Austin, they're actually kind of running the show here, and they're giving recommendations to the president. I think he's following them, okay? But they're also the ones working with these foreign leaders, with Benjamin Netanyahu, with Zelensky, working against Russia, etc. So they're kind of in control here. If you bring in Harris, she's going to want to be in control. And that's going to be hard for the world to adjust to. And so just for that reason, I sound like Mark Cuban. For that reason alone, I'm out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, I know it just sounds like we're being critical here of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, and we are,
and
for good
we
reason.
wouldn't have mentioned this if someone as respectable as Nate Silver didn't tweet it out.
Of course. We're talking about this because prominent national pollster Nate Silver posted to X just this morning calling on President Joe Biden to resign so that Vice President Kamala Harris could be sworn in as President of the United States for the next 2 months. Obviously, Adam, we have our thoughts and concerns about that. Wonderful show today. Wonderful, great conversation with legislators, important issues. I do want to give a nod to President Biden and Harris for the peaceful transition of power, for conceding in this race and ensuring that our republic will continue. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, this is how democracy works. And I want to commend them for ensuring that peaceful transition of power. Thanks again for listening here to Inside Sources. I am Taylor Morgan. This is Adam Gardner. Great show today, Adam. Be sure to tune in again tomorrow here on KSL News Radio between 1 and 3 p.m. Tomorrow, you can join Rusty Cannon and Greg Skordas, who will be co-hosting tomorrow. And, of course, you can find all of your favorite KSL News Radio shows and segments at kslpodcast.com. It is all there, Adam. Every show with Adam Gardner, you can go and re-listen to it, of course. Won't want to miss that at kslpodcast.com. Coming up next, it is Afternoon News with the incomparable Jeff Kaplan.